Hi, everyone. Welcome to Outgrow's Marketer of the Month. I'm your host, Dr. Saksham Sharda. I'm the creative director at outgrow.co. And for this month, we're going to interview Daisy Jing, who is a YouTube vlogger who founded a multi-million dollar beauty product line named Banish. Thanks for joining us, Daisy.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Sharda.
So we're going to start with a rapid fire round just to break the ice. You get 3 passes in case you don't
wow.
want to answer. in case you don't want to answer the question, you can just say pass. But try to keep your answers to one word or one sentence only, okay?
Okay.
All right, so the first question is, how long does it take you to get ready in the mornings?
3 minutes.
Okay, most embarrassing moment of your life?
Pass.
How many hours of sleep can you survive on?
6.
Okay, fill in the blank. An upcoming marketing trend is blank.
TikTok.
TikTok. All right. The city in which the best kiss of your life happened.
Ooh. Pass.
Pick one, Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, the first movie that comes to your mind when I say the word ambition.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Okay, when did you last cry and why?
Probably last week because I was so overwhelmed.
Okay, the biggest mistake of your career.
Saying things that I probably shouldn't have said out loud that were in my head.
Okay. How do you relax?
Exercise.
How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
1 to 3.
Okay. A habit of yours that you hate.
I'm a very light sleeper. That's not a habit. Habit of mine that I hate. I'm very impatient.
Okay. The most valuable skill you've learned in life.
Communication.
And finally, your favorite Netflix show.
I think it was Waco. That was a show a while back.
Okay, well, that's the end of the rapid fire round. You scored 9 on 10 because you passed once, or was it twice? I don't even remember.
Twice. Yeah, I was like,
All right, 8
I'm
on
glad I
10
got through it.
then.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to the bigger questions. The first one is, tell us one unique thing about your company Banish and how you help your clients.
One unique thing about Banish, we are vertically integrated and we control most things in-house. So it's not like, someone else does our marketing or someone else does our production or manufacturing. I mean, we kind of do all of it vertically integrated. So from the accounting side to the ingredient vendor list to the influencers we work with, like we all do, and I have oversight of all of that. So because of that control, it makes us able to innovate really quickly. And if we don't like a part of our process or something, we can change it. It's not like we're locked into working with someone or, we're at the mercy of another company or brand doing something for us. So I think you don't see very many of that for such a small company.
And does it help you cut across bureaucracy and get stuff done much faster, I suppose?
Yes, for sure. For sure. I mean, the meeting I had before this, we were just saying, oh, the shipping time, the shipping costs for a certain ingredient and jar that we manufacture is going to be delayed by X amount of days. And so we're just like, maybe we should run fewer ads on it or promote a different product more. I mean, we can just make so many more decisions in-house. And yes, it is a lot more efficient. And we have a lot more control over the entire process. So I think that's pretty cool because we get data from all over, and it's not like we get any surprises that come out of the blue because we do oversee most of the stuff going on.
Hmm. And I guess that's one key advantage that you would have. And I think, is that an advantage that you would propose to other businesses? Because I guess the only way to fight a titan, like, a big fashion brand that is like, I don't know, Zara or Gucci or something, is to cut down on bureaucracy, do you think?
I definitely think so. Yes. I think a lot of people think they can outsource something to someone else. And the reality is these agencies or these, whatever, they have a lot of clients or a lot of whatever. And if you're not the biggest one, they're going to put you to the back burner. And that affects, your entire business a lot of times. So for example, in terms of shipping, if they're delaying your shipments, if you're working with a logistics company, they're delaying your shipments or they're shipping the wrong packages or orders, you can't do anything about it. So if we have a problem with anything, it's always internal, and so we can always do something about it. So that has made it a lot easier for us, um, and we can really streamline the process. And I think it is about being able to control and see from end to end how something is working.
Mhm. And how have your personal experiences helped in your entrepreneurial journey? Like, what have you learned specifically being in this field for so long?
I've learned so much, and I would say in an entrepreneurial journey, it's all about taking your biggest fears and facing them every day. It's all like your personal insecurities, and they're basically in front of you every day. The worst part of your business definitely reflects, you know, the biggest insecurities you have, and you can't push them aside because they come out. These patterns emerge. So you really have to like dig in and solve things that you're really really scared about. I think that has been the hardest part of the entrepreneurial journey is that psychological, facing what you don't want to face all the time. Um, an example is having hard conversations, right? Or if someone's not performing, right, having those conversations and figuring out, what to do about them. You can't just ignore them because they keep showing up over and over and over again, right? Whereas I feel like, and maybe in another industry or in a job, you can kind of push it to the side. But yeah, all your weaknesses show through. In the beginning of the organization, I'm not a very organized person, so that lack of organization, I kind of pushed it to the side. But every month, it would bite me. It would bite me and the company in the butt. So I had to really, dig down and be like, okay, Daisy, you need to be more patient and you need to like organize your systems and processes better. You can't just do everything like randomly because it would hurt us, right? And so you really have to, yeah, like work on all aspects of yourself because that reflects in the business and you can't escape it. So um, that's been my journey with that.
So, keeping this in mind, what does your typical day look like? Like when you wake up in the morning, and how do you go about to work?
I've been running my business for over 8 years, so it definitely was not as hectic and as, hustle culture as it was in the beginning. And so now I have an amazing team. A lot of them have been with me for many many years, so it's been running a lot more smoothly than it was 8 years ago. But to answer your question, I wake up and I have a 1-year-old daughter, so I spend some time with her in the mornings, and then just in between when I can get 5 minutes here or there, I'll just respond to some emails or Slack messages, and then I would say from probably after lunch to the evening is really where I take all my meetings. So the bulk of my time is in meetings. Um, I try not to do work that I can delegate, right? Because my time should be spent on thinking about strategy or communicating or training or managing people. And then I'll do a workout, have some dinner, give my daughter a bath, put her to bed, and then usually the last few hours in the night, I can get some really deep work done. I find that I'm most creative at night. But yeah, with everything opening up now, I think things will be a little bit different. I'll have more time to actually do work instead of, be at home all day. So I'm excited to kind of see how how my life will be like now that things are opening up.
And how do you think the beauty and skincare industry has changed in the 8 years you've said you've been in the 8 years before this? Were you doing something in beauty and skincare as well? Or how would you say it's changed in these 8 years?
In these 8 years,
So
there's a
one
lot.
significant thing then. Okay. I
One,
guess a lot might have changed. Yeah.
I think it's just transparency. I think
Hmm.
a lot of people are realizing, the BS that there was in a lot of these industries. A lot of people are understanding, the ingredients and just what they're putting in products. And I think with TikTok and I think with influencers, there's a lot of, yeah, transparency about
Hmm.
things that people don't like. So it's really hard to keep things a secret now, right? You can't really keep anything under wraps or a secret. Like everything's very, very transparent. So I think beauty companies are also trying to be more transparent by talking about their ingredients and where they source their products from. People want to know where their products are made or if they're ethically sourced or sustainable. Um, so yeah, a lot of people want a lot more information now.
And also, I see that you have a huge following on YouTube. Why do you think your content resonated with people on YouTube? And you mentioned TikTok earlier. Are you doing a lot of branding in TikTok now? Are you making a shift from YouTube to TikTok? How's that going?
So TikTok, I started in 2010, and this was not business related. It was a hobby of mine. The reason why it grew was the authenticity of the content. So I had acne, people could relate to me, and they liked how this normal girl had skin problems, and they didn't see many other people like that. Um, YouTube has definitely evolved. So before it was me making content on my webcam and I didn't have to edit or anything. Now, you need a whole team and post production and run ads. And I mean, it's a whole right
Hmm.
studio and team that needs to be on, that's behind you on YouTube. We still make content on YouTube, and I've kind of shifted away from creating that content simply, being a new mom and running a business. It's been pretty difficult on my time. But we are also going into TikTok because I think nowadays people's attention spans are shorter and shorter, right? And people just want the information in 30 seconds or a minute. They don't want to watch a 10-minute YouTube video anymore. So we are shifting some of our strategy to TikTok, but we're doing both. And
Hmm.
the funny thing is like in a direct to consumer business, you really have to do all of the social media channels. Like you cannot just forget about one because they always come and go. And the performance on social media is a lot about consistency, right? Like how often you post and how many times you post. So you just have to do everything all at once.
Mm. But skincare in itself is such an extremely, personal space. How do you ensure a personalized experience for your consumers when they're like, looking at all these videos that you're posting out or just your brand marketing in general?
So our website and our products, we treat mainly people with acne and acne scarring. So we don't really treat any other skin conditions. So I think we have a very niche market. It's very deep and narrow, right? Um, and then we also have a great customer service team. We're always available on DM. We have customers sending us their photos of their skin and we can recommend products. But we only have a few products because we've tried a lot of these products and we only keep the best of the best of the best
Hmm.
um, on our site. And because we oversee, the manufacturing process, we just don't want to deal with products that aren't, the top 1% that we truly, truly believe in. So there's a combination of that, but I think our initial target is very niche. So we can really focus on treating that target demographic instead of trying to be everything to everybody. I mean, that's just too much, right? So we just really focus on that demographic first and foremost.
And would that be the advice that you would give to someone who's entering the beauty space? Do you think it's better to start with a niche kind of industry or space than to actually aim for like too many things at the same time?
Yeah, I definitely think a niche is very important because there's so many brands out there. There's so
Hmm.
many humongous companies that own all the brands. So you really have to find what differentiates yourself. I mean, for me, this brand started from my own personal experience. I was left with a ton of acne scars and I couldn't find anything that would treat them. A lot of products treat acne, but they don't treat the scarring, which for me was more traumatic because is permanent damage to the skin. So I wanted to solve my own problem, and therefore launched my company. And when people have acne scars, they immediately think of Banish. So we really took that space. Yeah, so you really need to figure out what your niche is and just focus on that first and foremost.
So you mentioned like YouTube and TikTok, but how about Instagram and Pinterest? Do you think these networks have a particular advantage as compared to the others? They have certain strong points, do you think?
Yeah, so Instagram, we're on too, and that's been a huge platform for us. And every week we strategize what are we going to post. It's crazy because you would think, someone's posting a picture, like, just post a picture, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it, right? And the strategy and the algorithm and all of that. So Instagram has been huge for us. But we are seeing the shift to TikTok, though. I think a lot of people are spending more time on TikTok than they are on Instagram. So that's been really interesting for us. And then Pinterest has always been there, and we're trying to be consistent about posting on it. Um, but it's definitely an area for improvement. I think it's just the lack of time and lack of managing all these channels. But I definitely think for SEO purposes, and especially if you do like home decor, DIY, or all of that, like Pinterest would be a really great platform too.
And now that I'm wondering about it, what do you think of new social networks like Clubhouse that are audio based and they're not necessarily, visual? How would a beauty brand express itself on such networks?
Yeah, so for Clubhouse, I've joined a few groups, I've listened in on a few conversations. We haven't really gone into Clubhouse that much simply because our focus is more on like digital marketing that you can repurpose. So I think it's kind of hard to, take those conversations on Clubhouse and like repurpose them if someone wasn't able to join them. But I do know of some brands who have hosted their own rooms, or some brands who have sponsored clubhouses or have sponsored influencers to be in certain clubhouse rooms. I actually saw a study saying that, like, was it 70% reduced downloads on Clubhouse or open, or something. Like, it was really
Hmm.
popular a couple months ago. Now it's not as popular anymore. And the issue is that there's nothing to keep people returning back. There's not like a notification loop, right? This 360 loop where it keeps you addicted. So sometimes you're like on Clubhouse and then you stop and then you kind of forget about it. I find that's really interesting. So I do think Clubhouse or some type of, voice community is the future. It's just, yeah, how do you utilize that for your brand?
Or maybe it'll just be merged with like, Twitter Spaces, because Twitter has this Clubhouse copy now where, so
Right.
Twitter is visual content and it can also be audio content. We don't specifically need an app that is only audio, I guess.
Right.
So
Yes.
yeah. Because I guess it's a huge industry, right? I'm trying to think, how could someone just leave the beauty industry behind and just go into the audio sphere, unless people are just discussing beauty on podcasts without any visual accompaniment, or I don't know, uh, uh, a a case study that shows how the acne treatment happened or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting area to get into. But I have another question for you here. Do you think the beauty industry itself is getting saturated?
The beauty industry is the most competitive industry out there. I would say, it's one of the most competitive industries out there. So, yes, it is saturated because there's so much competition. Um, but I definitely think there's always room for new players. And the funny thing is that consumers, they always love to try new products, they love to try new things. And what's popular 3 years ago is not going to be popular now. So there's this constant need for newness in this industry,
Mm.
um, which is good and bad, right? It's good, it's always a good time to enter. But it's bad in that when you've entered, you have to reinvent yourself all the time.
Hmm.
So yeah, once you're complacent, it's like bye bye. You have to constantly be trying new things, reinventing yourself, staying relevant, all of that. So um, it is saturated, but I think people are looking more into like the smaller indie brands now that there's so much transparency over the industry. People don't want to be, supporting the big brands. They want to be supporting, the small local businesses that align with their values, that are more focused towards Gen Z and speak out about issues they care about. So Yeah, there's a huge transformation in the beauty industry, and there's a lot of room for people to come in.
And what's one thing that your company has done to reinvent itself? Because you said you've been around for 8 years, and that's like by the 3 year cycle, that's like three years. So that's like 9 years. So yeah, what have you done to like kind of keep it fresh in your customer's mind?
Yeah, I think it's all about how we communicate with customers and communicating our brand and our vision to customers in the way they want to be communicated to. So before it was like live chat and phone, right? In 2012, 2013, like people would always be calling us, where's my order? Now no one calls us. Now they DM us all the time.
Mm,
So our customer service team, we're constantly on the DM. Where's my order? My order number is this. We even got rid of live chat because people, a demographic, they don't use it. So it's just constantly figuring out like what is the best way to communicate with our customers. And yes, now doing TikTok and Reels, right? People want to see content in 30 seconds. They don't want to wait a minute even to watch how to use the product. So it's all about how do we communicate all this information to a way our customers will understand it. And the way they understand it is going to change every few years, right? With
mm.
new technology.
For sure. And how do you go about, because you mentioned TikTok, how do you go about hiring these influencers? Because you also said this is an in-team thing, right? It's a vertical that you're directly overseeing. How do you go about getting these influencers? Because I guess influencers are a key part of how you get your brand voice across, and especially for all beauty products and not just your brand, right?
Yeah, so we work with so many influencers, and I would say our like market expertise is influencer marketing. I mean, I follow these influencers like all the time. This is what I do in my free time. I follow them, I watch them, I know who they are, I know where they live, who their significant other is, like their name of the kids. Like I'm very curious about people. And I've always been this way. And I think it helps me with my business because I'm able to see like, oh hey, this is a new influencer. Like she aligns with our brand. Like, let's go and work with her, you know? Um, so I think it's just being aware and very truly interested in them as people. And that's just who I am. So it comes very easily to me. Um, but I do know, some people, they try to just kind of almost spray and pray, or they use different softwares and all of that. I haven't had much success with that. So I think it's like building a relationship, right? You have to devote the time and the energy into that, and it's a two-way street. So yeah, but we work with hundreds and hundreds of influencers, and it's all about building the relationship and finding the the right influencer. So it's not necessarily about how many followers they have or all those metrics, but like do they align with your brand, and does their target audience align with your target audience, right? If there's a mix match in that, you're not going to see those conversions. And it's also about growth. I mean, influencers, they grow very, very quickly, right? So
Hmm.
just because they have 1,000 followers today doesn't mean they're going to have a million in a year or two. So it's again building that relationship and keeping those relationships.
So are you saying you're solely going around looking for influencers or the other people in your team? Because I get you're doing it as a hobby, and I get it because like I'm into tech, and I'm following all these tech influencers, and I get it. I'm doing it as a hobby, and I would be interested in their lives, etc. But is it just you solely, or have you trained other people in your team to also find such people?
Yeah, we have a few other people who do that, but I think they're very similar. Like they are
Mm,
also interested. And you have to get people who are interested like that. Like, we've also kind of trained other people to do this, and it just doesn't work. They just don't remember the little nuances of their life,
mm.
um, or like the new up and comer ones. They don't have that like gut feeling, right? So I think it's a combination of both. Like you can train people, but at the end of the day, are they curious about random people's lives, right?
It's a passion, I guess.
Yes, it's a
In a
passion.
way,
I don't
yeah,
know if
it's a
you call it
passion. Yeah.
stalking or I don't know.
I mean, when
Yeah,
it comes to influencers, it's quite blurry because they're putting their
right.
lives out there,
Exactly.
right? So I
Yep.
guess, yeah, no judgments here. I was, I was going to say, so on an average, I'd say in a week, the first part of this question is in a week, how many posts are on an average? How many posts are being posted about your brand from influencers, via influencers in a week? And B, are they making the posts themselves, or what kind of creative control do you have over these posts?
Oh, that's a really great question. In a week, I really cannot tell you. I say in a month
Mm,
at least 100 touch points.
okay.
I'm not
Hmm.
sure. Yeah, and that can be as simple as, like, a story, and a lot of these
Fair.
are also organic too, like, people who just post about our product, without us contacting them, like, there's a combination, and then some influencers who've worked with us, and they just wanna post about it, not that, like, they're, paid to do it, but some people just do it. And then sorry, what was the second question?
The second part was, what kind of artistic control do you have over what they post? Or do you try to control it, or is it completely they just go and post anything? Like,
Yeah,
how
we
does it
try
work?
not to control it.
Hmm.
I think was it 2016 we had more say into it, but the landscape has changed and it's all about authenticity. So if you're trying to control what they post, it's not going to resonate with their audience and it's just not going to in the long term it's not going to convert. So
Hmm.
um yeah, I think it's just giving them, creative freedom is really really important. And it's actually interesting, like a lot of them would much rather work with you even if you can't pay as much if you give them more creative control over their content.
Hmm. Definitely. No, I get, but especially on TikTok, I think originality has become even more than it was on Instagram, right? It's more how original it is than how staged it is. So I get that. And are you paying them with your product itself, or in addition to the product, you're giving them some other perks on
Yeah,
money or
I
commissions?
think
So.
I think it's hard to get like the exposure for just free product. You can still
Hmm.
do it. It just gets harder and harder as the years go on. So yeah, be prepared to pay and be prepared to be surprised also by what they ask.
All right. Well, that was a great deal of insight. I just have one last question for you, which is, what would you be doing if not this right now? If not this brand, what else would you be doing in the world right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's two things. One, I would start my own like fitness studio. I love fitness and music and that experience that you get while working out. And I'm that weird person that will drive an hour to attend a certain fitness instructor class. Or I would have my own perfume line. I love scent. I love smell. I think it's the strongest link to memory.
Mm.
And I can totally see creating like, commercials or, little short videos about life and how scents relate to experiences in life. So those are the two would be the two things I would have pursued.
It's strange that you mention a perfume line and the sense of smell, because social networks can capture a lot, and we've talked about audio and visual, but what they can't capture is taste and smell. And I wonder whether there's going to be something in the future that can capture that, like a TikTok for smell or for taste, and that would be super weird.
That's really great insight. And maybe there is more, yeah, space for that, right? Because that's not
Yeah.
going to change as much. Um, yeah, it's really great insight. I didn't even think about that.
Well, in the future, I'll be interviewing you for that product on, I don't know, Smell Smoke. I don't know what it's going to be
Right,
called.
exactly.
The new
Exactly.
social network.
Right, for smells.
All right, well, that was the last question. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this month's episode of Outgrow's Market of the Month. That was Daisy Jing, who is a YouTube blogger who founded a multi-million beauty product line named Banish. Thanks for joining us, Daisy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharda.
Do check out their website for more details, and we'll see you once again next month with another Marketer of the Month.